In the history of Hollywood cinema, all movies are either period films, contemporary films, or futuristic films. And the difference is not just the time period it takes place in. Contemporary films send a message about the reality we are living in now, and many of them are considered groundbreaking in their realism or the subjects they portray for the first time. But the further back you go, the harder it is to tell the difference, as they become increasingly stylized and theatrical. So much time has passed, it becomes impossible to tell what the 1920s and 30s were really like behind the grease paint and the film noir. Hollywood went through a transition in the 1960s from black and white to Technicolor to Panavision, and from stage productions to more gritty and realistic subjects. So let's go back and see if we can find where contemporary films begin. The 1971 crime drama The French Connection and 1972's Superfly are both brutal, realistic depictions of New York City told from two very different perspectives. 1971's Klute, in which Jane Fonda won an Academy Award for her groundbreaking portrayal of a call girl, uses a handheld tape recorder to tell part of the story. The French movie Z from 1969 tells a convoluted story of political suppression where everything is illegal, going all the way down to La Lettre Z. The British film Dracula AD 1972 literally transitions from the long tradition of period Dracula films to an exhibition of the present day, in which Van Helsing feels out of place. But let's go earlier than that. 1964's 7 Days in May is a contemporary film, as is 1964's Lady in a Cage, starring James Caan. The 1966 novel In Cold Blood, a revolutionary true crime drama, was adapted into film that same year. 1957's A Face in the Crowd, a film that has been largely forgotten, looks at first like a 1969 rock concert, but is in fact a contemporary black and white film in which a young Andy Griffith makes his screen debut before he became known for his much more wholesome roles. Many actors who are known for more traditional roles got their start playing psychopaths. Peter O'Toole, Anthony Hopkins, Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, reminding us that people were contemporary before they were folksy, like The Andy Griffith Show and Hee Haw. Every generation is concerned with the latest things. It's only in retrospect that they appreciate a bygone time and ways. The early 1960s had a spate of contemporary filmmaking starring young actors like Max von Sydow and Christopher Lee, a few of which are still alive today, which seem ancient to us now, like 1957's The Seventh Seal, which some people think is a silent movie, but were actually filmed in black and white because it was economy-style handheld filmmaking. 1960's La Dolce Vita seems to transition from an old movie to a new movie, beginning with a Hollywood actress eating pizza as she arrives in Italy, and ending with suicide and people crawling around on the floor at parties. So what about Technicolor musicals of the 1940s and 50s? Are any of them contemporary? West Side Story is a contemporary musical about street gangs that begins with a helicopter shot of New York City. They had to invent their own street lingo so it wouldn't become dated too quickly. So what about 1949's On the Town? Considered a precursor to Singin' in the Rain and other stage musicals, which all are period films, Gene Kelly insisted on using on-location shots around New York City to tell the story of three sailors who come back from the war to find women are now driving taxicabs. What about 1927's The Jazz Singer, the first talking picture, which is thought of as racist today, but is actually about a boy from a Jewish family who pursues his dream of singing African American music. Salvador Dali's 1929 experimental film Un Chien Andalou, where a razor blade is seen slicing open an eye, is a contemporary film because it was an experiment in filmmaking showing things that had never been filmed before. Films of the 1920s are, for the most part, Broadway productions or period films. The contemporary films are usually comedies, romances, or science fiction like 1925's The Lost World. But it doesn't matter so much if a romance or comedy is contemporary unless it's a groundbreaking romance like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Sci-fi is only contemporary for the purposes of comparing something to the present, like A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, or The Mouse That Roared. So there had to be a notion that black and white films were passé, or that certain themes were outdated to make something avant-garde. They weren't considered old-fashioned when they were made. So what do you think was the first modern film? Post in the comments below.